Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing the 2005 Bezel World launch Omega Speedmaster Broad Arrow Coaxial GMT, a timepiece 44.25 millimeters in stainless steel that represented what was the haut de gamme and flagship of the range in Speedmaster tech and selection back in 2005. So the watch is big. It's roughly the size of today's Dark Side of the Moon, but with solid end-link bracelet that makes it feel even larger. 44.25 millimeters in diameter. You can see the watch is full-figured on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. Lug-to-lug, 50 millimeters. Add the solid end links of the bracelet, and it is a robust 54.9 millimeters across the wrist, and you can see that to good effect from this angle. The watch is fairly thick at 15.2 millimeters, but you can see the defining feature of the case flank is that outward cantilevered overhang of the tachymeter bezel. So jackets only, this is not going to fit underneath tight shirt cuffs. The watch features a spacing of 21 millimeters between the lugs, so you will have a bevy of OEM and aftermarket options in that size, which is now fairly common, but the bracelet should be your first option because it's a beautiful one. Nicely made. It's a combination of large and small links with a staggered alignment, polish and satin finish. You can see polished faces. Back then we were using pin sleeves to size these bracelets, but very solid in the hand, big gaps on the underside to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair, and a clasp that is quite solid. It feels just as solid as the Speedmaster clasps from the period, the main difference being that there is no dive adjustment inside this one. There are 3 different anchoring points, however, so you can precisely size without removing links. Now the timepiece has a classic Omega Speedmaster or Seamaster case form, the polished and flaring bevels with a narrow satin side profile, and this particular case design has helped Omega cases to retain a little bit of a vintage character over time, as a narrow case band is one of the defining aesthetic features of a 40s, 50s, 60s sports watch, and that's still in evidence because of this case design across the Omega range. You can see the underside of the bezel nicely polished, the top handsomely satin finished, and it is a tachymeter. We'll get a little bit closer now. You can see it features, rather than an anodized aluminum insert, a steel top in its own right with lacquer-filled characters. The dial is remarkably upscale. All applique hour indices, and you can see they are both polished and faceted and hand-applied on top of what can be described as a sort of anthracite 24-hour track for the second time zone and a gloss black base. The watch features a date hidden just under the signature of the GMT at 6 o'clock inside chronograph hours, minimal calibration for the crosshair style constant seconds at 9 o'clock, and then you have lancet style counterweighted chronograph seconds at center, applique Omega logo and marquee, and of course the handsome alpha style hands, a little bit of a throwback to the 50s and 60s Speedmasters for the sub-registers themselves. Now if you pull the crown out all the way, you do hack the balance, stop the seconds, you can synchronize to a reference time, but you also have an intermediate setting position where you can set that local hour hand forward or backwards as you travel. Doesn't affect the second time zone, doesn't affect the minutes or the chronograph functions, so it allows you to jump time zones, and as you can see, even jump back and forth across the international date line. It will drive the date. A wonderful time traveler, or perhaps I should say time zone traveler feature. Turn it all over, and you get perhaps a bit more water resistance than you'd bargained for in a Speedmaster. The timepiece water resistant, let's get as close as we can here, but water resistant to 100 meters, so a true swimmable Speedmaster, unlike the traditional Moonwatch. It's also a bit of a high horology movement. As you can see, 3603 is the caliber, 37 joules adjusted in 5 positions. It is a chronometer, 52-hour power reserve, unidirectional winding, blued screws, and rather handsome bevels on the bridges. It's not a high horology finish, but it's one of the highest end finishing specs you will find on a mainstream Omega watch. Free sprung balance for shock resistance and to better take and hold a precise adjustment. It features both vertical clutch and column wheel for respectively smooth actuation and crisp function selection. Now of course you can enjoy the interplay of levers and horns with the column wheel mechanism itself. This is a movement that is both sophisticated and open. Not all automatic chronographs let you see the works. This one mostly does. Blued screws and black polished screws for good measure. A handsome watch, a functional watch, and a practical watch. If you're going to have an only watch in your collection, a stainless steel, fully water resistant, full bracelet GMT chronograph would be the natural choice. See it and make it yours on the Watchbox. Omega Speedmaster, broad arrow, coaxial GMT, plenty of lume by night.